guys, welcome back to RiksFishing and a happy new year, and I hope all your fishing goals are met this year. My goal this year is to continue the quest to try and catch my first double. Biggest so far is 7.5 pounds. But yeah, that's goal number one, catch my first double. Goal number two, continue to visit as many different fisheries as I can across the southeast of England. So just a little recap on the last year, very briefly. We went to about 10 fisheries. They're all available to watch on the channel, and I sat down over Christmas and I made a list of about 10 more. So today we're going to take the first one of those off, which is COLTSFORD Mill over at Oxted. Now, I haven't been here for almost 20 years. So technically it's almost a new fishery for me. It's the first time we've done an episode there. So yeah, I spoke to Neil yesterday, Neil who works there, and basically said that I'd like to come a little bit later than the usual 8 o'clock start, because basically the temperatures last night were really low. They were sub-zero. Storm Goretta, I think it was, had just sort of finished passing through. So yeah, still sort of, you know, a few gusts around. So yeah, the goal was basically to leave at 1 o'clock. So I'd be there fishing from lunchtime to around tea time. Try and get, you know, the sort of last light feed that the trout will be on, hopefully before they go to bed, as it were. And then it transpired that there was going to be nobody at home today to put the chickens in this evening. So conditions were as follows: big lake completely frozen, small lake open but really dirty murky water, and the cascades there, upper and lower, are both obviously fishable. That's a stretch of the River Eden, for those who don't know. So the strategy today will be discussed when I get there, but we are going to have to do things a little bit differently. We're going to be fishing in really cold conditions, really dirty murky water. The visibility is probably going to be no more than a couple of feet max. So we'll discuss strategies when we get there, and hopefully get a couple of fish on the bank as always. So thanks for watching, enjoy the episode, and I'll see you in the water. Thanks guys. Okay guys, so I'm just going to give you a very quick tour of COLTSFORD before we begin fishing. So this is the top lake. I think this is called Spring Lake, and that goes obviously underneath the bridge, and that presumably is the water that flows into the upper cascade, which is here. So basically the River Eden flows through the fishery, so every single bit of water is water from the River Eden. So you got your upper cascade leading to the lower cascade. Water depth throughout the entire fishery is around sort of 5-6 feet. That is cascades and both lakes, and that is the smaller of the two lakes, which is called Willow. So essentially Willow Lake, this is how the water movement happens around the fishery. Willow Lake exits just there in that little break. Willow flows into Spring, which is the top lake. Spring then drains into the upper cascade and lower cascade, and then back into the river on the other side of the bank over there. Okay, so basically we're going to just quickly discuss strategies for fishing in murky water. So you can see how coloured that water is. I'm just going to lower the net into it, and that net effectively disappears from sight at around 12 inches. So the rule of thumb is that light will penetrate approximately 3 times more than what a human eye can see. So if my net disappears within 1 foot, then the trout's visibility is going to be roughly 3 to 4 feet. Now, given that the water depth here is, I think Neil said, sort of 5-6 feet throughout the whole fishery, that little exercise is more or less academic, because we're not going to have to search through water columns. But let's say this fishery was 20 foot deep. Essentially establishing that the light will penetrate to 3 to 4 feet means that I would expect the trout to be holding in the upper column of the water. The second strategy when fishing in murky water is, generally speaking, to use something like a big black fly, because that's going to create a really nice silhouette. The trout obviously are hunting in poor visibility, so they're going to rely on silhouettes. So black would seem to make sense. So in terms of fly choice, we have our black fly here, but I've also chosen a pattern with these rubber legs just to create extra movement. So as discussed, visibility is going to be really poor, so we are going to be relying on trying to stimulate the trout's other senses too, namely the lateral line, and the movement of these legs should hopefully help stimulate the cells in the lateral line and help the trout hone in on the fly. Let's give this a go. stock sizes in here at COLTSFORD are roughly 2.5 pound upward, so each stretch of water, be it lakes or cascades, will hold doubles. The most common species are rainbow, but Neil also informs me that there's blues, browns, spartic and the occasional tiger in here, so all 5 species to go for. Irrespective of the conditions as well, trout like to feel safe, so given that the conditions here obviously are very, very dark and murky today, I've just thought of a nice little analogy that obviously you guys hopefully will relate to. So imagine staying in a hotel room. It's a brand new place, you've never been in that room before, and you wake up in the middle of the night, it's pitch black, it's really dark, you can't see anything in front of you, and you need to go to the bathroom. So the strategy would be to get out of bed, but to keep patting the bed as you navigate your way around it. Then ultimately make your way to a wall, pat the wall, navigate your way around that, and essentially make your way to the bathroom by staying very, very close to structures that you can palpate to try and help you build a map of the room that you're in. So initially in these dark conditions, trout are going to be they're going to be holding up, I would have thought anyway, around structures. So structure there, underneath those branches over there, to ultimately help the trout feel safe and secure. That's not to say there won't be fish out in the open water as well, but you know, I'm just trying to think, where would I put these initial few casts? I'm going to ultimately try around structure first, as opposed to a nice clear day where the water's visibility is very, very good and the trout are going to be swimming around and hunting actively. Obviously I'd be then fan casting. Oh. Right, let's see if we can get this over to the bank. Again, the assumption would be that in this dark water the trout are going to be hugging stuff. Right, final cast over by those willows, bamboos even. Right, so I'm in the bamboo. There could be no fish on the land. There we go. Just dropped it at the end of that pontoon. Okay, I'm going to change up now, and we're just going to try the other end of the colour spectrum. We're going to stick something either white or red on. Right guys, so the ever reliable cat's whisker, white and lime. Right, we'll give this a go in this same pool, and ultimately, as I've only been at the fishery for 20 minutes, I think that's going to be the strategy. Stick with extreme ends of the colour spectrum because of the water quality. And change patterns and move around as often as possible. Once we find out what the winning pattern is, then we can just settle down for the day. Right, we're just on the lower cascade now. And again, that's the obvious structure there that the trout could be hugging today. And we have our first fish on. Now, that was a very, very interesting take. That line actually started to sink approximately 10 seconds before I struck. It was almost like it caught something on the bottom, but that was one of the most tentative takes I've ever had. It was almost like it had caught something on the bottom, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to lift into this just in case a trout sucked that pattern in, and just sat there with it. And sure enough, that's what happened. Looks like we've got a half decent rainbow one. Staying deep, fighting hard. That's the nice thing about these winter fish, guys. They're so damn fresh. Now, I think this thing's got the line wrapped around it. Yeah, it's got the line wrapped around it. So let's just try and get it in before anything happens. There we go. Lovely fresh rainbow from COLTSFORD Mill. Let's take a closer look. So we're going to dispatch this fish, then we're going to bleed it, and then we're going to have a look inside its tummy to see if there's anything in the water it might be feeding on. So at least we have figured out that the pattern today is the white end of the colour spectrum, as opposed to what I initially thought might be the black end of the colour spectrum. So we'll stick with that sort of bright colours today. Let's get this fish bled, if I can find my knife. These will do. So that fish has just been dispatched. We're going to bleed it now, because if that fish just sits there dead with all that blood inside it, that blood is said to somewhat spoil the meat. So we're just going to let that bleed out through the gills and hopefully lead to a better eating fish. Now let's have a look at his tummy. I'm pretty sure there's going to be really nothing that much of interest in here, but one has to try. Yeah, so nothing on the first two goes. Do we have anything in there at all? Sorry about the blood, guys, but you know, that's nature, isn't it? Yeah, nothing inside that trout's belly at all. So nothing there to suggest that it's feeding on anything in particular. So yeah, I think we'll just stick with the lures today, stay with the bright patterns, because that's just worked for us, and let's see if we can get our second fish on the bank. Right guys, so I've only got a 2-fish ticket. We've discovered that white works better than black. Probably won't get the chance to use red today, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I've only got a 2-fish ticket, and as pleased with as I am with that last fish, because it's a nice lean, athletic, hard-fighting fish, I would like to try for something bigger. Now, there's no fixed rules in fly fishing, as much as I sometimes think that there might be, but basically what I'm thinking is, that's the colour that worked, cat's whisker. That's what I've popped on, a bigger version. Let's see if it picks up a bigger fish. So we've got basically a white mini snake. Right, so we can just see that snake actually fairly close to the top. Well, at the moment it's quite buoyant until it soaks up some water, but interestingly, as I jerk it back, it's actually moving almost fish-like, which is quite an interesting thing to note, because it makes it really realistic then as a fry pattern. So yeah, effectively the cat's whisker that we just hit that trout on obviously represents a fry pattern, but because of the size of the hook, it was quite a small fry. This effectively is about 6 times bigger. So big fry, and hopefully big fry is equal to slightly bigger fish. Ooh, almost in the branches. Right, so I'm just at that outlet now. So there's going to be a certain amount of flow towards that outlet, so I'm thinking the trout may be sitting in that flow. I'm going to stick with the floater. The only downside of the floater is that you tend to pull the lure up towards the surface. Oh, there's a lovely one just rolled over. So yeah, that kind of proves my point. The fish obviously are fairly high in the water column. So on that basis, what we'll do is we'll just we'll keep this pattern in the top couple of feet. I really want a decent fish here. I've seen a couple of got to be at least 5-pounders kind of rolling over. A couple of Polish lads here earlier, and they had a couple of decent trout, probably not far off the 4 to 5 pound mark. So I'm hoping it'll be my turn in a minute. Okay, we got our second fish on the snaky on a very, very, very slow figure bait. See if we can get this one on the reel, guys, just for a bit of extra fun. It's not a big giant or anything like that. Just another regular, probably 2.5 pounder. Where's that net? There we go. So, a substantially bigger fly. Let's get this thing dispatched first. So, a substantially bigger pattern, resulting in the same size of fish, if not slightly smaller than the previous fish. But anyway, there you go. That used to be a white mini snake. So I've decided, guys, because I had those 2 fish fairly quickly and I'm enjoying myself so much here today at COLTSFORD Mill, I'm going to just try one more strategy. Now, speaking with Neil, he tells me this willow lake here has got a lot of fry in it, and obviously having caught on 2 sort of fry type patterns, cat's whisker and that white snake, I've decided to try another fry pattern. So essentially I've basically seen quite a few fairly decent sort of fish lolloping on the surface, kind of coming up, almost dipping their mouth out of the water, going back down again, or maybe rolling across the water surface. So I don't know what they're feeding on, but the only thing there is really to feed on this time of year in here are fry. And because they're so close to the surface, I've decided to switch from the snake to this floating fry pattern, and we're just going to chip it along the surface and just see if we can entice one of those big trout that seem to be high in the water column. So let's see if we can tempt one of these decent rainbows. Like I say, guys, I'm sure they're probably at least in the sort of 5-6 pound mark, and they're the only fish that are actually coming out of the water today. So I'm hoping that I can tempt one of them to take my surface pattern. Right, so I'm just moving around Willow Lake just to a slightly more central vantage point, and also slightly less hampered casting behind me. Also, rather like playing a game of chess, if you're in the centre of the board, you've basically got more options as opposed to being stuck over on the edge. So let's clean this fry pattern out and just focus on just chipping it along the surface, having a little muck around, having a little play, and seeing if we can get a bonus 5 or 6 pound rainbow on the bank. Trout do have a habit of ballsing up the strategy, though. Ballsing up the script, rather, I meant to say. Earlier, all those bigger rainbows were surfacing over there. Then I've seen them surfacing over here. I've moved here, and they've all buggered off again. But they're obviously on the move. Hopefully we can intercept one of them. How far away in these sort of conditions, 5 foot, 6 foot of water, I wonder how far away the trout's lateral line could be stimulated by this surface lure. Any idea, guys? Leave it in the comments. Always trying to learn, always trying to share information. Right, guys, so that surface pattern failed to connect with any fish. Not too sure why, because the fish were kind of actively lolloping for about half an hour, but that all seems to have died off now. So for whatever reason, they've stopped surfacing and they've just gone that little bit deeper again. So going Going to switch back to the brighter end of the colour spectrum. Lime, white, a little bit of an orange head. And we're going to try and pick up one more fish. Alright, so initially that pattern is going to be on the surface until it soaks up a little bit of water. There we go. Suddenly things have switched off a little bit again. Oh, there's one rising over there. So we can just get in its vicinity. Oh, the wind blew it across. Yeah, I was just aiming for that trout and the wind just literally carried that 6 feet past it. You know, I've deliberately chosen a pattern that doesn't have a brass head like that initial cat's whisker did, just to try and keep this fly a little bit higher in the water column. And I've noticed that if I don't let it sink that much, despite it being a 12-foot leader, if I start retrieving slow figure of 8 straight away, I can just about see that it's sitting in the first sort of 6-8 inches of the water column. Oh, yeah, now we got another one on, guys. Got another one on, literally 6-8 inches below the surface. Might be a slightly better fish. Yeah, it's a slightly better one. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is a slightly better one indeed. Oh, now it's swimming towards me. Yeah, I think we've got one of these slightly better rainbows that I was aiming for, guys. Oh, it's swimming towards us again. Woo! Yeah, best fish of the day. I'm glad I went for that extra fish ticket. Probably about 4 pound, I'm guessing, guys. Well, that was very satisfying to effectively target one of these better fish and end up getting one. Come on, over the net, over the net, over the net. There we go. Yeah, that is a slightly better fish, guys. Yeah, slightly better one, yeah. Yeah, the fly came out in the net.
Nice, yeah.
I'll give you guys a copy of this fly so you can try for yourself. But yeah, that's one of those slightly better ones.
Beautiful,
that were going along the surface.
Yeah.
You might have noticed they were kind of coming up along the surface.
Okay.
So that fly literally had it maybe that far down.
Okay.
And just twitching it back. And yeah, right, guys, so that is the end of the session. I'm just going to walk back to the car now with my bag of trout. So 3 nice rainbows, all on white flies with a slow figure of 8 retrieve. So yeah, heading back to the car now via the shop just to say thank you to Neil. And we'll do a little debrief and a little review of the fishery once we get behind the wheel. So stay tuned and I'll see you at the car in a second. Right, guys, that's the session at COLTSFORD Mill in Oxted, Surrey over, and very, very, very nice venue. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a second, but I just thought I'd do a little bit of a debrief first. I got here this morning, temperature I think was about 1 degree, and I tried to give my usual commentary as I went along with, you know, hints and tips and strategies, but I'm not too sure how that's going to pan out. I'll have obviously look at the edit later on tonight, but my face literally was frozen for most of that. My nose was kind of cold, and I just don't know how that actual episode is going to pan out. I'm back in the warm car now and I can physically speak again. So anyway, on with the debrief. So yeah, basically the strategy today was to try and figure out how to catch a trout in murky water. It's something I've only did once before, Ashdown Forest, been there a couple of times last year, and it seems to be quite a kind of a muddied up venue, so this was literally just the second time. So to recap, if you arrive at a venue and there's muddy water, think of the colours at the opposite ends of the spectrum: black, white. The visibility in murky water is obviously going to be very, very poor, so the last thing that I would be trying would be, you know, little subtle nuances like blues and blacks, blues, olives, greens, you know, all those kind of browns, all those kind of subtle naturals. You want something at the extreme of the colour spectrum that's going to stand out and effectively create a silhouette in the water. So tried black initially, now happening on black, tried white, and obviously we had those 3 fish on white and line to be precise. So yeah, that's effectively the first strategy. My second comment revolves around the actual depth that the fish might be at. Now, obviously you've seen that at the start I got there and I dipped the net, and the net's got a nice red rim on it, so basically as soon as that red rim disappeared, I noted that the net had sunk about a foot. Light penetrates approximately 3 to 4 times that of light penetrates about 3 or 4 times further than the human eye can see, so the trout therefore are going to be sitting in the top 3 to 4 feet of the water. Now that's very, very important if you arrive at a deep venue, because obviously you've got something to work off, but at this particular venue, as Neil said, the average depth is sort of 5 or 6 feet, so really that part of the strategy didn't really matter too much because of the venue that we were at today. But just a useful little tip: sink your net, take note of the depth, multiply it by 3 or 4, and that is as far as the light is going to penetrate, and that's where the trout should be sitting. In terms of the actual fishing experience, there's something about COLTSFORD that I like today. I'm kind of struggling to find the word that I want to use, but there was something very enchanting about fishing at COLTSFORD Mill. It was enchanting, it was immersive. The reasons being is that those 4 swims that we've shown you around today, they're all kind of interconnected, with lots of overhanging foliage, lots of little dark corners, lots of little quiet spots, as well as, you know, wide open spots. So it almost feels like you're kind of just working your way through this little network of little swims here and there and bits and pieces, and it almost feels like there's just an awful lot going on. You know, you're thinking, right, the trout could literally be in this bit, they could be in that bit, so it's very, very immersive. And if you're the type of angler that likes to put a bit of thought into what you're doing, the COLTSFORD Mill will certainly stimulate your senses in that respect. So yeah, all in all, a very, very, very good day out. If you like the content and you enjoy watching my episodes, then please hit the subscribe button and give a little bit of support back to the channel. I am going to head to a new venue in probably 2 or 3 weeks time. I haven't decided which one yet, but we are in the colder months, and so I would like to get some of the kind of decent fisheries ticked off. So trip to Manningford is long overdue, so that possibly will be next on the list, but who knows, there's about 12 fisheries to fish through this year. So yeah, stay tuned, please subscribe, tight lines for 2026, and don't forget to leave your goals of the year in the comments, and I'll enjoy reading those. Alright, thanks guys, take care.